Good day. It's Monday afternoon, pretty grey actually. It's around 4 o'clock, and I just popped down to bring a large paper bag down, which I'll pop in the shed and use for seed saving later on this year. Not sure what seed we'll be saving, but obviously we'll be saving some. And I thought whilst I was down here, I'd just lift up this black fabric a little bit to see how the soil is faring underneath. I was hoping that, or I am hoping that no weed growth will have developed under there. I mean, I'm not expecting any green weed growth, but as you can see around the outside we've got quite a lot of grass, which I haven't kept on top of, I admit that. But I just thought I would lift up this fabric and see how roots are faring underneath, i.e. are roots of weeds growing, or have they been reduced in vigour? So yeah, I'm just going to do that swiftly. Right, well, you can see that there is weed growth under there, none green, which is what we would expect because of course light hasn't been able to get to it. But yeah, you can, I suppose it's not, you see it has rooted there, can you see? Let's go in there. Oh, try not to fall over, Paul. Oh, yeah, that's quite deep. There's a worm there, which seems very inactive. I guess for the state of the bed around it, this isn't too bad, is it? Yeah, I mean, there's lots of growth here. I mean, look at that. You know, that's thick. That's like centimetre thick. But I think we'll be, yeah, it needs digging. Sorry, did I go out of focus then? It needs digging, but, or forking, not digging. But I think a year under black plastic, I mean, clearly it's helped, but is a year under black plastic worth a year of not growing? I'm not sure. I mean, I didn't do this to you know, to do a test or a trial of anything. I just covered this bed last year because we were going to be moving house and I was trying to keep work down. Anyway, I think we will be growing in this bed this year. But over the coming weeks, I need to do something about all this around the edge. That was one of those 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock waking moments where I thought, oh, I'll just see how that bed is doing. Because we were going to be moving last year, as I said, I reduced the amount of beds that we were working on here, and also I did less work, which is why there is so much grass around and about, which needs to be dealt with over the coming weeks, and I will be getting on with that. So that bed was covered so that I didn't have to work it last year. It wasn't done as a test bed, as I say. It was just done to save me work, because I knew that with the house being on the market, we were going to be busy, and of course we thought we were going to be moving. So that didn't happen. So I woke up this morning and thought, oh, I'm going to just see how that bed is doing. Clearly it's going to need forking, and I'll be using my new berry and bird fork to do that, which we'll have a look at maybe next week, or maybe later this week. I'm already lost where I am in the week. But yeah, those roots, I mean, you know, some of them are pretty sturdy roots, but with a good forking we'll be able to get those out. And I think that's the thing, you know. Terry from Terry King's allotment garden, is it? I can't remember what his name is now, but I mean, absolutely great fount of knowledge, really is. He looked at the work that I did last week where I cleared 3 beds, and he did say to me, because he keeps on top of his allotment beds, the amount of weeding that I did in a week is about the same as the amount of weeding that he does in a year. And I can believe it, because, you know, he really is on top of things at his allotment. And it's bigger than ours. It really is bigger than ours. However, you know, I'm not one for comparing and going, oh, you know, poor me, and thing like that. But yeah, it's what I was saying, you know, earlier on in this calendar year, you know, over the last couple of weeks. It's good to try and get ahead and then keep on top of things, and that's what I'm aiming to do over the next sort of 6-7 weeks. Certainly through to, let's say, the middle end of March, is get on top of things here so that I can keep on top of them for the rest of the year. And that means that when I see a weed coming through in a bed, I don't leave it, I tackle it there and then, because of course by the time you leave it there are other things that need to be done. That weed may go to seed, and that seed can spread over your plot and other neighbors' plots as well, and deliver you 100-fold of seeds, so, and 100-fold of plants. So yeah, try and keep on top of things this year, Paul. Yeah, but that's it. I was bringing a pair of secateurs down that I found in the ground a couple of months ago, not a pair of mine. I've given them a good clean and an oil. They're pretty decrepit, but actually they're still sharp, so I'll be using those, because I don't have a good pair of secateurs at the moment, so I'm going to be using those. I'd love to have a pair of Felcos at some point, and I'll work up to that. I'll just make do with what I've got at the moment, and then bring that paper bag down, as I say, because I keep a stock of them just at the side of a chair here in this shed, so that when we do get to seed saving time, if I am saving things like brassicas or lettuce, I can put sort of quite a lot of the whole head, as you've seen me do before, once it's dried, into the bag upside down, because I find that the easiest way to save seeds. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to stop waffling. Yeah, generally happy with that bed. Just need to tidy up the outside of it now, and everywhere else. But I'm not going to beat myself up about it. See you very soon. Bye. Good day. It's now Friday afternoon, and I've just popped down to have a look at these broad beans. This was the first bed to be sown, and that cold snap that we had really has done quite a few of them in. I think some, if they're still sort of like this, will regrow, but there's quite, maybe that one will as well. But there's, I don't know, I think we've lost quite a few. That cold snap really was cold. It seemed to be colder than when we've had snow before. Let's have a look at the other one. Our second bed of broad beans, sown a few weeks later. There's quite a few have just dried along here. Obviously here you can see the gaps. I mean, this is how prolific they were along here, but you know, in 5 rows. So this one's taken quite a beating as well. And the reason I just wanted to come down and check So we've got another cold snap coming up, and I think what I'm going to do is sow some more broad beans. I'm going to have to, I put a shout out actually to someone who I think has got some spare ones, and if they have, I think I'm going to do them in pots in the greenhouse or in the polytunnel to see if they can catch these up, because I've got plans for when we take these broad beans after their harvest out of this bed. So I'm not I don't really want to elongate the season of growing broad beans because I've got plans for this bed. And it looks as though my success, or rather failure, with sweet peas continues. This one looks rather bedraggled here, and we've got another one just sort of here which is looking pretty terrible as well. We only had 2 that germinated, and yeah, maybe I'll sow some more. These were Beaujolais, and that I just love the colour of them, but I don't know, maybe my time is best spent on things that I know are going to, or I hope are more likely to do okay for me, because they've done okay for me before. Talking of which, this is our tray of coriander and parsley, and as you can see, we've got sort of pretty okay germination, considering that this is really old seed of both coriander and parsley. I don't know which is which yet. The classic thing of not labelling, but certainly I think these need a bit of a water, because again it's peat-free compost and they feel a little bit dry on top. How do they feel below? A bit crunchy on top there. Let's just go. But you can see it's damp below there. But if there are some seeds that are going to germinate in this lot, then best to just give those a quick spray, which I'll do. So yes, I think I'm going to sow some more broad bean seeds if I can get hold of them. I mean, I can get hold of them, I could buy them, but I think somebody that I know has got some spare, and if they have, then I will sow those instead, and they'll be sown in pots. You know, as I say, I want to use that bed for brassicas after the broad beans have come out, for winter brassicas. So if I sow more seeds now direct, they will most probably take a bit of time to catch up with the others, and they'll most probably always have a bit of maybe a 3 or 4 week lag behind the others that are coming on, as long as they survive our next cold snap. So my thought is, by sowing them in the greenhouse, or maybe even the poly actually, because that's where there's a more ambient temperature, but they get protected, anything in there is protected from wind chill, because obviously it's a polytunnel. They will grow on there, and I'll be able to put them out maybe in about 6 weeks time, and hopefully they'll then establish and grow on quicker. So I won't have to allow more time at the end of the broad bean harvest for a second broad bean harvest. So what I'm hoping is that the ones in the ground will harvest maybe the end of May, and the ones that I am going to sow and then will go in the ground maybe in 6 weeks, I'm hoping they'll sort of harvest at the beginning of June, by which time we'll have brassicas to go into that bed. That's my thought. So when you are planning things, it's good to try and plan the whole year, rather than just do sort of spot beds and do a bed and then think, oh, what am I going to do afterwards? You know, if you can do a plan of how you think things are going to roll, I think that's really good. Of course, you know, we can never rely on the weather and things being exactly as they are, but if we have a plan, we can change that plan if we need to, or stick to it if we don't need to change it. But not having a plan, I think, is yeah, I guess I like to try and be organised in that way. Anyway, if we can get some more broad beans, I hope to be sowing them this weekend. Otherwise, we'll be doing something else. See you very soon. Bye. Good day. I've just got to my shed and I see this dogwood, I think it's a dogwood, outside in a pot, and this has actually come from a person's front garden. Very, very kind of them. Earlier this week I bumped into one of our other plot holders here as he was going out and I was going out, and he lives the same sort of way as I do. He's one road further back than us, so I walked with him his way home and then sort of doubled back to go to our house, or around the corner to go to our house. And as we got to his front garden, I went, oh wow, that's amazing. And the sun was shining really brightly, and I saw this big twiggy plant in shrub it is in his front garden, and it was a wonderful silvery, orangey, peachy, glorious plant. And I think it's mostly a dogwood, it could be a cornus or something like that. And I said, oh, you know, that is absolutely lovely, you know, it's really great. And he said, would you like a cutting? And I said, well, yeah, you know, when you're doing when you're cutting it back, that would be absolutely great. And then I come down today and he's obviously dug some rooted growth out of the ground and put it into that pot, so I will have to thank him profusely for that. It's lovely, and I do love dogwoods. You know, the colour that they give in the winter is really something, and whatever it is, it will be absolutely lovely. And I am thinking, can you take cuttings from it, you know? But anyway, yeah, I think first it just needs to grow on a bit in that pot, or maybe into a larger pot. But there we are. So today I'm down, and the broad bean journey is continuing. So one of the other plot holders here said that I could have some of their broad beans, and in fact I have them here, and they're Aquadulche Claudia, which is what we have anyway, and Karmazyn, which is a sort of pinky reddish coloured seed of a broad bean. The pod looks the same, but the actual broad bean is sort of bean seed is pinky reddish. So those are rather lovely. And the person did say that they were going to give me these, and as I was leaving the site yesterday, I was talking to somebody about broad beans, and they said, oh, mine have been bitten by the cold as well, and I'm going to need to re-sow, so I'll need to get some. And I sort of said what I was getting from somebody else, and they said, oh, I'll look online for that, but they're not very adept online. And I did say that they could get these on Amazon, so in the end it was agreed that I would buy them a packet. So I got these free, which is fabulous, and then I bought a packet of exactly the same for this other plot holder who is not very adept on the internet. So they have now arrived, and I've put them into that person's shed so that they can sow theirs to do exactly what we're doing, which is replacing those that have been bitten by the cold weather that we've had in our 2 beds here. So all I'm going to do is fill up pots, this size pot, with compost. And as you know, we got plenty of compost because we were gifted an awful lot of compost. Fill them up with compost and then pop a seed in. That's all I'm going to do. And I've got quite a lot of seed here. So yeah, you can see the difference. That's the Karmazyn, and that's the Aquadulche Claudia, so very different colours. So there's enough. I've just been looking at the 2 beds again, and I think we've lost about half of our raw beans. As I say, some of them might shoot again and come back, and that would be absolutely great. But I think we planted about 80. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 15 of the Karmazyn, and I'm going to do 30 because I've got enough seeds of the additional sowing of the Aquadulche Claudia. So that's what I'm going to get on and do now. It's a bit windy, but the weather's rather lovely, so I've decided to do the sowing out here. So I'm just pushing these down a couple of inches, maybe 1.5 inches, and then I'm going to be topping up with further compost. I forgot in my counting, I forgot that I was doing it in these pots, even though I told you I was doing that, and I sort of counted for them in my modules, which are 5 by 3, so 15. So actually I'm now doing 40 of the Aquadulche Claudia, and I'm doing 20 of the Karmazyn, and any that don't get used by me will be given somebody else and used by somebody else. I'm just firming those in a bit, pulling the compost from the side over. "40 seeds of raw beans sown here, variety Claudia Aquadulche, or Aquadulche Claudia. I can never remember which way round that is, and they've been labelled, which for me is pretty good. And then over here we've got 20 Karmazyn, which are the sort of purple stroke pinky reddy podded ones. So that's great, and I have spares here and here. I've got these 2 jars here and here, which I'm going to take home, put in the dishwasher so that they're nice and clean, and when they're dry these are going to go into them and then into the fridge to elongate their life. There's my gloves. I always like seed sowing without gloves, but when it comes to putting compost in pots I prefer to use gloves. So that is it for this week's A Week at the Plot. It's Sunday, have I said that? It's Sunday, so it is the end of the week for me. It's been a really busy week. That if you watch Sunday Chat, I had 2 very long days at Vanessa's, or one very, very long day followed by another really exhausting day. And I'm really glad I got so much bed prep done last week, because this week I haven't been able to get any done other than a little bit of weeding. So, you know, yeah, there we are. I thought I was going to strim this morning, but last night we got rain, not particularly heavy rain, but we got rain and the grass is really, really wet, so there's no strimming to be done. But next week I think it's going to be remedial tasks, putting the door back on the grow house, tidying up some grassy areas. I've got 2 roses at the side of the poly here, in front of the one's in front of the decrepit shed and the other is by the apple tree, and they've never really done very well and they're sort of in the way. So I think I might move those to the front of the plot next to the other roses. That seems like a sensible thing to do. I think that's sensible. I mean, it's more work, but I think it's sensible work, if you see what I mean. Anyway, there we are. And the reason that these broad beans are coming into the polytunnel rather than the greenhouse is the poly has more ambient temperature to the greenhouse, i.e. it is the same temperature as outside, generally, though we don't have the wind chill that we would have if these were just left on a bench outside. If they're in the greenhouse, they'd get a few degrees more on most days. On a sunny day, they get quite a few degrees more. And even though I want them to come on well, I don't want them to really sort of grow too vigorously at the beginning, so that they're a bit weak. And of course, hardening off will be easier from the polytunnel than from the greenhouse, particularly at this time of year, or when these are likely to go out, which hopefully is in 4 to 6 weeks time. Anyway, we're into February now as well, aren't we? The year is already going. It really is. If you're not signed up to our newsletter, please do sign up. There's various bits of information, the piece from Richard and the piece from me every single month. The next one will be out most probably later, or next week on Planet Vegetaria, or if you're watching this on YouTube, it will be later this week. And yeah, I hope whatever you're doing in your garden, your growing spaces, or your allotment is going well, or at least that you're planning what is going to be happening if the weather isn't quite right for you to get out and do things. And I know some areas it's really quite sort of sodden at the moment in the UK, and you can't get out and do stuff, and you know, I do understand that, but there's always time to just sit and plan, so make sure you are doing that. And of course, seed catalogues are well through everybody's doors, or you know, on the internet for those of us who mainly shop online. So yeah, I'm sure planning is going well, and looking at seeds is something that I'm going to be doing next week. I've meant to do it over the last couple of weeks and haven't got round to it, and next week I really must. Right, I'm going to go. I will see you very soon for further segments of A Week at the Plot on Planet Vegetaria, or I'll see you in a week's time if you watch on YouTube. Any comments, any questions, please do leave them down below. Happy growing. Bye.